Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Josh Berger, Rupert Grint and David Heyman. Hi, Josh. Have a seat, guys. David, I might start. Would that be the greatest understatement of all time, a moderately supported British film?
I mean, I really, at the time, had no idea. It was just something I liked. And fortunately, a few other people ended up liking it too. But I think that's the key, is it wasn't, when we were making the film, and well, when I optioned the book, thank you. When I optioned the book, or when Warner's optioned the book for me, and for them, we were just trying to make I was trying to make the best film possible. It wasn't really looking at it with in spite of what Howard talked about, with a global perspective. It was really just focusing on the creative and trying to make the best film possible. And actually that was the case all the way through through the series, is making the best film possible, and everything else would follow from that.
And would you say that was key to its success ultimately? Because you had that unenviable task of trying to win over the legions of fans who already were reading the books as they were being completed by J.K. Rowling, and then you had to find that new audience as well.
Well, having a rather successful book doesn't hurt, and Joe's brilliant words, so that clearly is the foundation. But I think, you know, one of the things about Potter is it's culturally very specific. I mean, I remember some of the first meetings with writers in America. There was talk about moving it to the States and, you know, cheerleaders and the likes, and that just never really rang true. And because it really was culturally so British,
yeah.
And yet thematically, what it was about was universal. And I think that really is the key.
Rupert, I was fortunate enough to spend a lot of time with you guys on the set. You grew up there. We were just talking. You got there age 10. You're now 24? 24 now. So, I mean, you've gone from being a boy to a young man and going through all those experiences. What were some of your highlights of being involved with Harry Potter?
It's hard to really sum it down to some just individual highlights. I mean, it was, as you say, it was my childhood pretty much. I started when I was 11. And it was kind of every day for 10 years, and it really was almost like a school kind of atmosphere. It was like an education. We had each year we had like a different director. We worked with, the cast was amazing, and we were working with kind of some of the best people in their fields, and it was, yeah, you learned so much every day. And it was just, and for me, it was just such an amazing thing, because I was just a 11-year-old schoolboy and had no previous experience of films or had any idea about this industry at all. And
then to be in a world like Harry Potter, where it's all wizards and magic and spells, it just makes it all the more extraordinary.
Yeah, it was just so much fun.
One of the things that always struck me when I was on set was the detail. The detail in all the props particularly. There was, during the Quidditch World Cup, they actually made and designed World Cup final programmes. And in the programmes, there was the history of Quidditch. There were profiles on each of the players. They were absolutely beautiful, none of which was ever going to be seen on camera. Now, I always wanted to slide that into my pocket and take it home. I didn't know, you'll be pleased to know. But what about you, Rupert? Did you manage to steal anything?
Yeah, I mean, as you say, there was so many things that were just amazingly crafted. That was very yeah, okay. I took Harry Potter's house number.
You went to Privet Drive and you stole his house number?
Yeah, it's kind of a special thing, because it was a set that was always there. But I mean, you can buy these numbers from B&Q and other DIY stores. So, but yeah, it's nice to have a little memento like that.
I saw the Bond car out there, which is spectacular. He has the blue car from the second Harry Potter film too.
Brilliant. Yeah. In terms of, I mean, sort of Rupert's touched on the experience he had, David, with the talent in front and behind the camera particularly, and how important that was. But how do you go about assembling a team like that when you're filming in Leavesden?
Well, it's a gift when you have something like Joe's books. That makes it a lot easier. In terms of the talent, I don't think there was an actor who really turned us down, because they just, their children or their nephews or nieces would have been really upset had they done so. I mean, Richard Harris, literally, the only reason he hadn't read any of the books, the only reason he said yes was because his granddaughter Ella said if he didn't, she'd never speak to him again.
It's great currency, isn't it?
And, you know, in the UK, we have some of the most remarkable people working, as Rupert touched on, in front of and behind the camera. And it began, I suppose, the first person after director and writer that we hired was Stuart Craig, who's won 3 Academy Awards and really created the film world of Harry Potter. I mean, amazing artist. But we hired over 2,500 people on each of the films. And everybody on the films became a fan. So
it must have changed dramatically as well from that moment when you all stepped on first of all to 10 years later.
Well, I mean, many of the same people worked on all the films, and over the course of the 10 years we became a family of sorts. But one of the things, touching on what Howard talked about, is technology. Technology most certainly changed. Incredibly. I mean, the visual effects industry is something that has developed substantially over the 11, 12 years of making the films. I mean, I look at some of the effects on the first film and I want to cringe. And then I look at the ones in the later films and I'm really proud of them. And at the beginning, I'd say 2/3 of the effects were done in America. The visual effects were done in America. By the time of the 6th, 7th, and 8th films, I would say 95% of the visual effects work was done here because the visual effects houses could do it. They are as good as anywhere in the world. And, you know, it's a huge change from when we started. And also just the consistency of working on films. You know, in a way, Harry Potter provided an apprentice system for many people. And again, I think education is such a fundamental part of what we do, and bringing people along and giving them the opportunity to learn, and to learn from the best. And over the 8 years, you saw people, over the 11 years, you saw people who were assistants becoming head of post-production, or assistants becoming art directors, working in publicity, really going, rising up the ranks.
Yeah.
And that was a really exciting thing to see.
Josh, it is, as we've been discussing, so much more than just a film or book series now. You're in charge of those other elements. What can you tell us about the other elements of Harry Potter, and importantly, how Warner Brothers has built this brand?
Okay. Thank you. I mean, as has been touched on, I mean, the studio is the place where that creativity really that began with the books and Joe's incredible work, art and commerce kind of meet. And really, our job is to provide the creative talent, the main bits of which are on stage, and then many other hundreds of people as well, the means to make what they want to make and the vision that they have. In the case of Harry Potter, which was such a unique circumstance, really, number one, because of the foundation, the literary work, and the success that it had, and by the time the film came out, it was I think the first 3 books were already quite a phenomenon, and the world that David and the filmmakers created up at Leavesden allowed for 8 exceptional films to be made, and then the studio, having seen that success, was always quite obsessed with making sure that the quality was there in every other area that the property would find itself in. So obviously today, it was much later development that you had theme parks, but the theme park in Orlando has really transformed the theme park business in Florida now. The FT has written very cogently on it, but again, it's part of the power of that brand.
How has it transformed the theme park industry?
Just in bringing people to Orlando now who wouldn't otherwise go there. I mean, the attendances are markedly up, and it's all about Potter, really, and it's changed the Universal theme parks there, and it's been good for the whole region.
I think to give Universal some credit there also is they spent a fortune on the park, and they really, but not just about money, they really focused on the detail, and it really was not a very general approach. The quality of what they what Universal and the Warner's team did, and Stuart Craig, who really was at the center of it in terms of design, in really focusing on the quality of the creative endeavor, not just the financials, but really marrying those two. I think they set a standard that they're now carrying on and is really affecting other parks. So I think it really affects the approach to theme park production. And the other thing, just a slight aside to what Josh said, Warner's has been great at changing their approach, being willing to change. So I think the first film, the amount of merchandising was shocking, was too great. And when I saw Harry Potter on toilet paper, I knew it had maybe gone just a little bit too far. But
we're really proud of the toilet.
I think I've still got some, actually.
But actually, at that point, it really reined it in and did a much more elevated, high-end program. And I thought that was really, adaptive and smart.
Absolutely. I mean, again, the obsession, I think, with quality in the execution, which was really established at the very beginning with the books, and then in all of the films, in the merchandising eventually. And as I think everybody realizes, Joe Rowling was directly involved in almost every aspect of all of these various different parts of, let's say, the brand that were developed. Theme parks today, the merchandising program, which, if anybody's been out to Leavesden and seen the Harry Potter studio tour, there's a shop there, which is really, an extraordinary retail experience for Harry Potter, and all of the incredible creativity that can go into making a wand, or indeed a broom, which is a Nimbus 2000.
Or even down to the sweets that my children adore, the Bertie Bott's every flavoured beans, which aren't extraordinarily expensive, and that's what they love.
Exactly. And as David said, all of the partners, and Sony working in partnership with Neil Blair and Joe Rowling on Pottermore, which right now, Harry Potter fans are getting an experience today of new creativity from Joe Rowling, which is also incredible. And satisfying, millions of fans right now.
So we opened the studio tour in Leavesden, which has been a great success. But you took a sort of bigger leap than that, because Warner Brothers then bought Leavesden itself, where David and Rupert filmed for 10 years in freezing cold conditions with rain coming through the ceilings. You finally finished the Harry Potter, then brought the whole thing and decided to do it up.
Yeah, it seems slightly backwards, doesn't it? Really?
Yeah, they're a bit annoyed about you waited, but what made you make that decision?
Yeah, we rented for 10 years and then bought the house, kind of thing. There weren't that many other opportunities to do so, and it also coincided with this incredible experience that we had making the 8 films, and many other films in Britain during that same time. Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, the Tim Burton films that we made with him here. The Dark Knight Rises, Batman Begins, Inception, a host of Sweeney Todd, and so really Britain was becoming our second home for filmmaking, and it made sense at that point to buy the studios that we made our home. And Roy Button, our head of physical production, who was based out there, again, building that home for him and Dan Dark, who run it, both of whom are here today and have been an integral part in this success story. And it just made a lot of sense, really, and it speaks to our ambitions now, making films here, and also television. We own a television production company here, Shed, which is one of the leading independent producers, where we also intend to make production there. The other thing that we bought was TT Games. TT Games made Lego Harry Potter, which is one of the most successful kids' video games in the marketplace today, and a game we're incredibly proud of. And also the EA games that were made for Potter at the time were really groundbreaking.
Yeah. So, unfortunately, we're coming very short of time, so if I may just come back to you, David, for one last thought of an abiding memory. I know Harry Potter, the adventure at school's finished, and it's going to carry on for you for many, many years, but what is the sort of one memory that you take away from the whole experience?
So hard to single one out, but I think there was a time when we talked about a tapestry in the film, and we were
in the sixth film, I think it was the sixth film, or the fifth film, Joe had written about the black family tree, and we needed to show it. And in the book, there were 1 or 2 names, but we needed to actually show it, so we needed many, many more. So I called Joe up, and I said, Joe, can you help us out with a few names? He said, give me 10 minutes. And 10 minutes later, she sent me a scan. I received this fax with a family tree which had 100 names with birthdays, death days, who was married to who, going back 6 generations. And it just shows how richly conceived this world is, and how this woman's creativity, which is really where it all began, how imaginative and how well considered everything in that book is. There are no mistakes. It comes from her, and she knows it inside out. And that just summed up the detail that she put in her books, and that we then try to put in the films.
The platform on which you've created this global phenomenon. Thank you very much for joining us today. I'm afraid we're out of time. I hope you've enjoyed yourselves. Please join me in thanking Josh, Rupert, and David.